Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want to talk about the power of the will, our willpower. That is the most important thing we have to change our lives. We have to have the will. I want to talk about how you can see your will, no matter what your signs are, through your chart of astrology. Now, always remember, I am talking about the Vedic sidereal astrology. And if you would like to see your chart, you can always go to my website and pull up my free chart calculator. My website is galacticcenter.org. And while there, don't forget to sign up for my free newsletter and check out my beautiful spiritual jewelry, which I have all 12 signs that you can purchase that have all the stars plus your gemstone in this beautiful pendant. So with that, don't forget too, I teach Vedic astrology online. You can become part of my university, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. So with that, let's talk about what and how you can see your willpower, and also if you feel like sometimes your willpower is low, how you can activate it. I believe astrology is a tool for self-betterment, for something where we can transform our lives through understanding our horoscopes. And remember, astrology is about knowing thyself. If you know thyself, you will know everything, literally everything about the universe. So, talking about willpower, what house do you suppose deals with willpower? Very interesting, because it's not a house that's attributed to any of the great things such as spirituality, truth, all of these fabulous, the triconal houses or the angular houses in a chart. These are the houses that are always attributed to greatness. Raja Yoga, Dana Yoga. But let me tell you something. I think this is one of the most important houses in the chart. It never gets enough credit. Third house. The third house rules our willpower, our will to get things done. And it's interesting because the third house is relative to Mercury, because Mercury rules Gemini, which is the third sign. So it's known to be the house of communications. But did you know that Mars is the Karaka, meaning indicator of the third house? And Mars is energy and will. Mars it rules our blood flow. Mars rules blood and life force. And actually the third house is the house of our life force. I know it may not make total sense to you right now, but imagine this. Mars is also the indicator of brothers and sisters in Vedic astrology. Therefore, its importance to the third house deals with siblings. And remember this, siblings we're always in competition with when we're growing up. The third house is competition. That's will. And did you know that the second house is a Maraka house? Maraka means killer, and it can deal with issues around death and dying. Believe it or not, the Maraka houses are actually the 7th and the 2nd. And the reason why the second house is a Maraka house is because the third house is considered the house of our life force. So when we lose our life force, we come to the 12th house from the 3rd, which is the 2nd. That's why it's Maraka. And just for your information, the reason why the 7th house is a Marka house is the 8th house is the house that rules length of life. So when you go to the 12th house from the 8th house, counting all the way around from the 12th house, you arrive at the 7th. So these two houses are Markas based on what the house that is the 3rd and the 8th, the 2nd and the 7th or 12th from those. So, when I talk about the 3rd house being the house of willpower, courage, it's a house of courage. Did you know that? So therefore, it is a house that deals with our strength of character, our will. And what I find is when you look to the planet that rules your 3rd house, whatever house it goes to, which I'm going to talk about, gives you an idea of your courage within your life, how strong your willpower is and your courage to achieve and make things happen. So if you have, now let's say you go to your 3rd house, and let's say, okay, well, we'll work with what I know. I have a Gemini ascendant. So on my 3rd house is Leo. So therefore, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, since Leo is the sign of my 3rd house, that means the sun rules my 3rd house. Whatever house the sun goes to will give you a sense of who you are, your drive, what you're focused in on, where your willpower is. What is your drive and motivation in life? Isn't that going to be interesting to understand that? What is your motivation and drive in life? You see, your ascendant sets all this up. That's why it's so important to pay attention to your rising sign, which is the ascendant or the Lagna. We call it in Vedic astrology. So, for example, my sun goes to my 5th house. So my motivation in life, my drive, my ambition comes from the need to be creative because that's a 5th house matter. That's where I project all my energy. Of course, my sun is debilitated because it's in the 5th house in Libra. So that weakens it somewhat. Of course, then you're going to be looking at where it goes in the Navamsha. But we're not going to go that far yet. In later videos, we will talk more and more about the Navamsha. But I want to stress my point about where the ruler of your 3rd house goes. Okay? And so if your ascendant is Cancer, then Mercury rules your 3rd house. If your ascendant is Leo, then Venus rules your 3rd house. If your ascendant is Virgo, then Mars rules your 3rd house. If your ascendant is Libra, then Jupiter rules your 3rd house. If your ascendant is Scorpio, Saturn rules your 3rd house. If your ascendant is Sagittarius, Saturn also rules the 3rd house. If your ascendant is Capricorn, then Jupiter rules your 3rd house. If your ascendant is Aquarius, then Mars rules your 3rd house. If your ascendant is Pisces, then Venus rules your 3rd house. If your ascendant is Aries, then Mercury rules your 3rd house. And if your ascendant is Taurus, the moon rules your 3rd house. And back to Gemini ascendant, where the sun rules the 3rd house. So now that you know what planet you're looking for, the ruler of the 3rd house, look and see where it is in your chart. If it's in the 1st house, it's going to be that you motivate yourself. you're very powerful. If it's in the second house, money motivates you. Prosperity in terms of finding wealth and money. There's nothing wrong with any of this. This is who you are. This is where your strongest motivation and courage and strength come from. So if it's in your third house, if you have the ruler of the third in the third, my God, then you are a powerful being that has a strong competitive drive, extreme competitive drive. This is great strength, and you have a strong will. If it's in your fourth house, then your will and you strive for a sense of security. Security is everything for you. Yes. Okay. Then, and maybe that'll come through, your sense of security comes through family or through property or land or real estate. That gives you power. That makes you feel willful and strong. Let's say it's in your fifth house, through your children, through your creative projects. That's where you have your will, and that's where you feel the strongest. If it's in your sixth house, you're extremely competitive. Again, the sixth house is another competitive house. You're very ambitious and you're driven. You have strong willpower. If it's in your seventh, you find your willpower through others, through relationships, through your connections. That's how you get your willpower. If it's in the eighth house, you got to be careful, because I feel like the ruler of the third and the eighth, sometimes you can be self-destructive and you can lose your will. But your will come through transformational experiences, and then it reaches a level beyond belief. So that means you got to surrender and let go of things to come to this incredible power that you have. So if the ruler of your third goes to the ninth house, then your will and your connectedness and power come through learning, higher learning and spiritual truths. This is who you are. What a great place. But you are very empowering, especially to others. If it's in your 10th house, your power comes from your work, your career, your profession, your purpose. That's who you are. And if it's in your 11th house, your power comes through your involvement with groups, organizations, through friendship. This is where you gain your will and your direction in your life. And if it's in your 12th house, the ruler of the third is in the 12th, then this can mean through letting go of issues from the past. This is going to extremely strengthen your power and your will to achieve greatness and to find your connection with the truth. All of these, when I come through all of the connections, the ruler of the third through all of these houses, this is where we're finding ourselves, our true power, our will. And our true power and will should always be directed eventually through all these earthly means to finding our true self, which is the whole reason why we are here. Our spiritual development to better understand our will, to find our true direction with the divine, which is within all of us. So with that, I'd like to close. Remember, you can always go to my website to find out more about me and my jewelry, sign up for my free newsletter, and that is galacticcenter.org. And don't forget to check out my university website, University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.